9% so far in 2026. Do you expect this rally to continue?
Well, I think it all depends on the nature of the conflict. If it's measured in terms of days and weeks, there's a lot of potential that we return to that narrative of the market being fundamentally oversupplied. Now, if the conflict stretches for longer, if we see energy assets in the Gulf region affected, then the price could continue to accelerate. So our team has been looking at potential for lots of different scenarios. So if we get a quick resolution, maybe we quickly go back into the 60s. If things drag on, if energy assets in the region are damaged and require time to bring back online, you could easily imagine a scenario that exceeds $100 a barrel. So really, at this point, it's going to depend on the nature of what happens next. And I would just mention that the equities that are related to the industry, they're also moving, right? So if you look at, we had a note out this morning on some of the Canadian E&Ps, which produce oil, and quite unsurprisingly, given oil is up so much, they are moving in concert with the commodity.
Yeah, and I read earlier, Bloomberg Intelligence had a range of where oil may go given this conflict, and at the highest end, it was about $108 a barrel. But Rob, I would love for you to sort of give us a comparison between what's happening now and how the oil market is reacting, and how oil reacted 4 years ago when Russia invaded Ukraine. Because if I remember correctly, it was a much more aggressive response, not only on the part of oil, but equities as well.
Yeah, so I think you can look to prior conflicts and get a sense for kind of maybe how the market reacts. And so I think, again, I don't think that we were particularly surprised. And I think that the way to think about it is that most of the run-up we've seen so far is basically characterized as a geopolitical risk premium. So fundamentally, if you run a basic model, you get this idea that the oil price should be, say, in the mid-60s. So we work with our data science team here at Bloomberg. We run models, and I think its current price that it's spitting out is closer to 65, 67. And so something like $5 to $10, maybe even a little more, of the price that we're seeing is all because of the risk that these geopolitical events accelerate and take more supply potentially offline. And so that geopolitical risk premium could go from as high as $30 a barrel, maybe $40 a barrel in some of the extreme cases. You mentioned our top one being around 108, 110 thereabouts. And so I think the key catalyst to be watching is, do we start to see ships moving through the Strait of Hormuz? So about a very significant amount of the supply globally comes through that region. And so if you think about it, is it just a delay, or are things going to be physically disrupted and unable to be delivered for some meaningful amount of time? If that is the case, that really takes you to some of those higher ranges. But if things start to move in the next few days or weeks, then it's just a matter of delay, and I think the market balances it all out. So I think at this point we don't know, but there is a lot of potential for upside from where we are here at the moment.
Lots of questions yet to be answered. Robert Barnett, Bloomberg Intelligence Senior Energy and Commodities Analyst on oil and gas. Thanks so much for joining us today. And for our listeners in the U.S., a reminder, you can listen to us via satellite radio on Sirius XM Channel 121. Access the world's only global audio business network, coast to coast, 24 hours a day. Bloomberg Radio on Sirius XM Channel 121, presented by Golden Crest Metals. Stay tuned for the latest market news and industry research. The next hour of Bloomberg Intelligence is going to start in just a few seconds. In that hour, we expect to hear from President Trump as he'll be speaking from the East Wing of the White House. We'll bring that to you live once it happens. This is Bloomberg.
This is Bloomberg Intelligence with Scarlett Fu and Paul Sweeney.
Concern about rising prices spooking investors.
What does renewables investment look like in the U.S.?
More tariff talk coming out of this administration.
Breaking market headlines and corporate news from across the globe.
The president wants lower interest rates. He wants a rate cut cycle.
How do you broaden out the AI play?
Are people just looking for something to worry about when it comes to China?
Bloomberg Intelligence with Scarlett Fu and Paul Sweeney on Bloomberg Radio, Originals, and the Bloomberg Business app.
I'm Alexis Christophers, along with Nora Melinda on Bloomberg Intelligence. We are here today for Paul Sweeney, who's stuck in California looking for a flight back. Scarlett Fu actually has the week off. We have a mixed market at the moment because the Russell 2000 just turned positive, up about 2 points. We've got S&P 500 down about 25, Dow Jones Industrial Average off nearly 200 points, NASDAQ down about 50. You might say it's a somewhat muted response to the war the U.S. and Israel has now waged against Iran. Taking a look at oil, it is on the move, but again, off its highs of the day, with Brent now up 7% at 78.10 the barrel. Coming up in this hour, we've got a stacked hour for you. And of course, we have our eye on the East Room at the White House. That is where we are expecting President Trump to speak shortly. He's actually doing a Medal of Honor, a ceremony today, but there are reporters in that room. They're expected to ask him about Iran. And we are going to bring that to you. We see people now, if you're watching us on YouTube, people are sort of coming into the East Room right now. The podium is set up for the president, but again, we'll bring that to you once it starts. Later in the hour, we're going to hear from Lisa Abramowitz ahead of her interview with JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon. She has certainly got a lot to talk to him about, and I would bet that she's going to be talking to him about the geopolitical landscape and how Jamie Dimon sees things going forward. But first, let's get a look at the broader market, what's moving this market today with a business flash and Charlie Pellet.
All right, thank you very much, Alexis. And here's what's going on. The dollar and gold climbing, oil surging, stocks have paired losses. We've got the Dow, the S&P, NASDAQ, all in the red right now, right to the numbers, because the S&P is down 23, dropped there of 0.3%. Yes, off session lows. Dow Industrial is down 178 on the Dow. That is a decline right now of 0.4%, while NASDAQ is down 48. The NASDAQ Composite Index, that represents a drop of 0.2%. There is some green right now. The Russell 2000 Index of small cap shares, as Alexis mentioned, is moving higher, but up under 0.1%. The 10-year, 4.04%, with the 2-year currently yielding 3.47%. Spot gold is down $16 the ounce now, down by just about 0.3%. So a retreat for gold, 52.66 the ounce. But West Texas Intermediate Crude Energy a major theme today. WTI up 6.1%, 71.13 the barrel. Brent, the global benchmark, holding above 78 now, 78.01 barrel of Brent, up by 7.1%. President Trump, meanwhile, says the Iran attacks may last weeks with Tehran defiant. We will be hearing from the president shortly. Well, as for reaction to all of the fast-moving developments out of the Middle East, Louis Navalier is Chief Investment Officer at Navalier and Associates, and he was a guest last hour right here on Bloomberg Intelligence.
Well, obviously, this is a buying opportunity because the war will be over sooner than later, and it will remove a lot of uncertainty. I realize there's a new regime has to take over, but I have quite a few Persian friends, and everybody's ecstatic by what's going on.
Louis Navalier of Navalier and Associates interview right here on Bloomberg Intelligence. Defense stocks surging right now. Lockheed Martin is up by 3%. Northrop Grumman up by 4.3%. Oil majors up as well. ExxonMobil gaining 1%. Chevron up 1.3%. ConocoPhillips up by 1.5%. So again, recapping here, we got the 10-year 4.04%. S&P down 21, down 0.3. Brent, the global benchmark, surging by 7%. Alexis and Nora, that is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
Well, thank you, Charlie. Keeping an eye on the broader market, we do see it in the red, pairing some of the declines that we saw earlier in the session. The S&P 500 down about 0.3%. The tech-heavy NASDAQ 100 index down by about 0.2%. And looking at the Dow, it's down about 117 points right now. But we're kind of looking at some of the pockets in the market. I've got my eyes on airline stocks. Those are lower. American Airlines being pressured more than 4%. But we are also joined by more of an insight in this sector. Christina Kino, stocks on the move and companies to watch. We've got Christina Kino. Let's take a look at some of the stocks on the move today. I'm Nora Melinda with Alexis Christophers, and we're joined by Bloomberg's Christina Kino. Tell us what you're watching in this market.
All right, Nora. Well, we got to take a look at some of the defense stocks, as you would expect in a situation like this. They're probably the ones performing today, and this is no exception. So taking a look at Lockheed Martin, among the best performers on the S&P 500, one of the top 10 stocks today. Those shares, ticker LMT, shares are up now 2.4%. So carrying some of those opening gains that we saw at the beginning of cash trading here in the U.S., but still very much in the green. And we have our Bloomberg Intelligence analysts, of course, weighing in on the move that we're seeing today. They're saying that, the Iran strikes really just reinforce the primacy of air and sea assets, and that crude platforms are retaining a clear relevance, which, of course, Lockheed is very much a player in that space. Our analysts also saying that stealth fighters remain a decisive advantage for countries' militaries, and air defense very much critical to protecting key assets. Again, a lot of Lockheed Martin's products definitely serving that goal there. And beyond, what's happening geopolitically, of course, we have seen some benefit to Lockheed as well from the fiscal spending that we've seen from Congress this year. Congress adding $3 billion to the budget for air defense, bringing that total to $40.8 billion, and 56% of that upside is going to Lockheed's C-130J units. So there you go.
You've also got Occidental Petroleum on your screen. I'm taking a look at what it's doing right now, and okay, up 2%.
Exactly. So just extending some of those gains that we've seen at the open there, Alexis. Again, Occidental, one of the outperformers today, given that move higher that we've seen in oil prices. And so ticker OXY, those shares are up 2.3% at the moment, up for a third straight day. And again, because of those gains that we've seen both in Brent and WTI. And again, Bloomberg Intelligence weighing in on this. I think the key for oil and oil-related stocks is very much whether energy infrastructure and transport hubs are severely impaired, and most importantly, whether there's a blockage to the Strait of Hormuz. A lot of shipping coming through that channel, and so
the world's oil.
absolutely. So that really is what to watch for markets. But specifically for Occidental stock, we did see last week Fitch upgrading their credit rating to BBB from BBB minus. And they're talking about the company's execution of their debt reduction plan for 2026. They see that as going well. And they also see another about $700 million in debt in terms of debt being reduced. That is giving them a more positive outlook for this company.
So you've also got your eyes on Norwegian cruise. And I'm curious, tell me about how this is also related to the Iran conflict.
I think that's being swept up in just the declines that we're seeing in travel and leisure stocks generally today. Though for Norwegian specifically, we did have their results pre-market. So ticker NCLH, those shares are down massively today, more than 9%. Less down though than they were at the opening. They were down about 12% just around the open. But yeah, we did see their results. It's not a great set of results. A lot of focus on those net yields measure, which is a key industry measure of revenue per available passenger during cruise day. And they expect that to be little change. They're also forecasting earnings for the full year that fell short of estimates. $2.38 per share is their forecast, which is less than the $2.59 per share that analysts are forecasting. And so CEO John Chidsey saying, quote, "My initial assessment is that our strategy is sound, but execution and cross-functional alignment have fallen short." It really is all about the execution. You can have the best strategy in the world, but if you're executing it not that well, then it goes out the window.
Well, thank you for giving us some of the stocks that are moving under the hood. That's Christina Kino, Bloomberg Managing Editor for Markets Live. For more conversations like this, subscribe to our Stock Movers Reports. Listen for 5-minute audio reports on the biggest winners and losers in the stock market. Subscribe to Stock Movers on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you listen.
All right, coming up on 11:10 on Wall Street, I'm Alexis Christophers along with Nora Melinda. We're in for Paul. and Scarlett Fu today on Bloomberg Intelligence. And again, we're waiting for President Trump to enter the East Room of the White House. He's there for a medal ceremony, but he is expected to also speak about Iran. And when he does, we will bring that to you live. In the meantime, though, I want to go to Jerusalem now because Alyssa Odenheimer, Bloomberg Breaking News editor for Israel, is standing by to speak with us. Alyssa, what will you be listening for when the president speaks, presumably in just a few minutes here from the White House?
Well, I think all of us will be listening for when what the end game is, what will happen eventually to cause regime change in Iran, because Netanyahu has said that is one of the aims of the war. So I think that we'll all be listening for that, and also possibly for how long this will go on.
And any voices that you're looking to hear from in particular, are there, whether it be Netanyahu, more of an update from President Donald Trump? What is your team keeping an eye on in terms of updates?
Yes, certainly we listen very closely to Netanyahu. He spoke today and he said that there's basically two aims of the war. The first is to thwart the renewal of the existential threat by Iran on Israel. And secondly, to create conditions that would allow the Iranian people to change the regime. And he also added that both Israel and the U.S. would support the Iranian people when the time comes. So we do listen very closely to the Prime Minister. He also noted that not only Israel is under threat by Iran now, also the entire
we try to
region,
get
and
a
also Europe.
rotation after the
Apparently,
gap fill.
a drone was launched
We were taking a break even.
in Cyprus.
Not short.
So he said that if Iran would be able to get nuclear weapons, not only the region, not only Europe, but all of humanity would be threatened by Iran.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Cyprus because apparently the UK base there in Cyprus has now been targeted, the airport there as well. Just give us an idea, though, of what things are like on the ground. I know you're coming to us from Jerusalem and sort of the mood there in Israel.
Well, I think people were waiting a long time for this moment, and I think that most of the Israeli people are convinced that there's no choice but to confront Iran. I mean, since October 7, 2023, I think that people in Israel firmly believe that if a country or an organization threatens to annihilate Israel, it should be taken seriously. And so I think that to a great extent, Israeli people had waited for this day. On the other hand, it's very difficult. People are sleeping in shelters. They're sleeping in train stations, which are underground, so that they're safe, with little children sometimes. And so it's not an easy situation, running to shelters frequently when the sirens go, and it's quite taking a toll. But I think that many people still feel very hopeful about what this war could bring, and perhaps this war could bring real peace to the region.
Right. Well, thank you so much for joining us and giving us a bit of color on the ground. That's Alyssa Odenheimer, Bloomberg Breaking News editor for Israel, joining us on the latest on the Middle East. But continuing on in this conversation, we'd like to talk with Wayne Sanders. He's Bloomberg Intelligence Senior Defense Weapons Analyst. I've been keeping an eye, Wayne, on some of the stocks moving, at least in terms of some of the U.S. defense names, and we're seeing them rallying on the day, not too much of a surprise. What's your takeaway from the developments here and as this relates to weaponry more broadly?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on. We put out some research over the weekend. One of the biggest things that we've noticed, right, U.S. primes like Lockheed, RTX, and Northrop, they're really at the center of the air missile defense and strike capabilities that are underscored by the U.S.-Israel campaign against Iran right now. And so being able to show that crewed systems, piloted systems continue to be at the forefront of this, right? F-22s, F-16s, F-15s.
Check the SPX.
And the F-35, obviously, for air dominance. All of these have played a really critical role in here. It starts to show that the work into stealth technology continues to be one of the key pieces that's going to continue to be
SPX is trying to fill their gap.
They're proving their nature. They're proving their importance to it. And then you're also seeing that from a naval power. It ends up continuing to be a very powerful
I
button
think
for the
that's what we're
president
going
to use,
for.
to be able to bring up these
The SPX gap.
the carrier strikers, excuse me, to go out there, aircraft carriers along with these guided missile destroyers, to be able to provide not only a level of air defense, but then also air superiority as well as long-range strike capability.
And Wayne, this morning we got word from the U.S. that U.S. Jets were shot down over Kuwait in apparent friendly fire. In a friendly fire incident. Thankfully, the crew that were in those jets were able to jettison out of them. And last we heard, they're in stable condition at a hospital. But can you tell us more about those jets and what was destroyed there?
Yeah, when you look at some of the F-15 capabilities and all that, right? Air defense is normally, right, they come as different pieces. You have a radar system that's actually used specifically to identify the signal itself. Then you have to be able to put it together with an interceptor that's going to be able to shoot it down. And so what happened in some of these is I believe that the radars themselves, when you try to differentiate, identify friend versus foe, ends up being a key piece of this, right? There are specific signatures that different aircraft comes on. If you override that and you shoot at it anyway, it's something that can be on there. But all the pilots are safe, even though these aircraft were affected.
So how would you characterize Iran's current missile and drone capabilities, especially the ones that are being used in this war?
Yeah, looking through some of the U.S. CENTCOM data and all that, right? I think right now you're looking at Iran having below 1,500 missiles total for these short-range ballistic missiles and medium-range ballistic missiles. But the bigger test there is actually on the missile launchers themselves, because you're looking at somewhere between 100 to 150 missile launchers total. Doesn't do any good to have a missile if you can't get into the air. And so the U.S. and Israel have been very, very effective at targeting the stockpiles for the missiles themselves, but also the launchers that shoot them. And then the air defense capabilities have been very much decimated at this point in time, which is why you see so many F-22s, F-15s, F-16s that are in F-35s that are able to fly somewhat unimpeded in that area.
All right, Wayne Sanders, Senior Defense Weapons Analyst at Bloomberg Intelligence. So glad you were able to join us, because we wanted to sort of look at this from all angles and outside of oil and equity sort of usual suspects, and take a deeper dive into defense. So Wayne, thanks so much. Taking a look right now, Laura, at some of these stocks. Lockheed Martin up now 3%. So I guess no surprise there.
No surprise at all. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of the other defense names also higher. RTX, we're looking at that higher, and a few of the other ones in focus here, Northrop Grumman as well. But I mean, we also are just keeping an eye on the broader market. The volatility is something we've been keeping an eye on.
Oh yeah, I mean, and look at the Russell 2000 now up 5. NASDAQ's coming back, now down just about 8 points. So hard to believe we're actually now at war with Iran, and the S&P is down 15 points.
Yeah. I mean, I think we expected it to go a little bit deeper, but we'll have to see how the rest of the trade trades out here.
This is Bloomberg Intelligence.
Markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, Bloomberg Television, and the Bloomberg Business app. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
It's 11:21 on Wall Street. We do check markets all day long. The Bloomberg oil spikes, stocks drop. The Dow, the S&P, NASDAQ, all in the red as traders weigh the market risks from an escalating conflict in the Middle East. S&P 500 index right now down 16, dropped there at 0.2%. Dow Industrials down 139 on the Dow, a decline right now of 0.3%. NASDAQ Composite Index down 0.1%. The NASDAQ 100 Index down 0.3%. And the Russell 2000 Index rebounding from earlier losses, up now by about 0.2%. The 10-year 4.05%. The 2-year 3.48%. Gold up $12 the ounce, up 0.2%, $52.90 the ounce. West Texas Intermediate crude oil up 6.1%, $71.16 a barrel. Brent, the global benchmark, up 7.2%, $78.14. And Bitcoin is surging almost 6% to 69,591. Oil shares.
Well, some slippage on that entry. We're trying to swing back, but
Chevron up 1.7%. ConocoPhillips up by 3.1%.
Get out here. Get out. We'll get out for break even there. And not get the entry for that swing back. Trying to get value at the value level.
Again, recapping, we've got Brent crude up 7.3%, $78.18 a barrel. The 10-year 4.05%. And the S&P 500 index down 0.2%. Norm, Alexis, that is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
All right, Charlie,
I think
thanks so
might
much.
rotate
And you've
back
got a red
here.
headline
Might
crossing
rotate back down.
The Bloomberg terminal oil supertanker rates have now soared to a record on the Middle East conflict. And of course,
We hit a
oil,
high liquidity
has
area
been
after
higher
filling the gap
throughout
here.
the weekend, and now, of course, into
These
Monday
buyers got
and
absorbed.
Brent, though, holding steady. I mean, it's up
They're
7%, but it's
stuck
78.17
buyers
the
up
barrel,
there.
and WTI crude now at 71.19 the barrel. I want to talk more about the oil markets and the impact
Price
that
tried
the
to
Iran
come
attack
back.
might have on them with Ellen Wall, president of Transversal Consulting.
Where was it?
So, Ellen, I want to just start with OPEC Plus because they already responded pretty
They
quickly.
tried to
by
come back.
increasing quotas
Bulls tried to come back
slightly.
here and they got
Not a
stuck.
major
Stuck
output
buyers
hike,
here.
But is this really more symbolic than anything else?
Yeah, I think that what we saw from the output hike and the swiftness with which they did this was really a signal to the market that should there be any kind of major disruptions, that OPEC is absolutely willing to hike production very swiftly to accommodate that. Now, obviously, the big question is if the major oil producers here, Saudi Arabia, Iran.
So we are at the POC here on the lower time frame.
They're experiencing
A lot of
disruptions to both
players in this market right now. There's a lot of volume here.
Out of the Middle East, that may not be all that helpful, and we're really going to see reliance on places like
could easily consolidate in this area
to increase output
before finding
How
another
much does
move
Saudi Arabia and the UAE
for
factor
the next
into market
direction, but
stability in this scenario?
So I would say they're really key right now. What's interesting is that both the UAE and Saudi Arabia don't rely 100% on the Persian Gulf to get their oil out. So Kuwait, most of Iraq, and they are almost entirely
coming back
reliant
down to value.
on the Strait of Hormuz. Saudi Arabia does have
See how it
oil
reacts.
out through the Red Sea, and the UAE has pipelines that go around the Strait of Hormuz.
If we can displace below this value,
A lot of their oil is still set up and
come back and target
to go out through the Strait of Hormuz, and we've seen
liquidity down here.
Rates are sky high. So, even if there is no direct threat from Iran, it's still too expensive to send a tanker through the strait, either to pick up oil or to get it out. And so this is really causing a standstill that, if it continues for a week or even two, could really start to cause major problems.
Ellen,
So we have
if
some
winner in all of this, you
trap
say
buyers
that would be
that
Russia,
just
at least in the
that
short
liquidity
term,
is
right? Because I guess
taken.
its oil would be able to flow
Come back to swing low.
unobstructed to its biggest oil consumer, which is China.
Exactly. China is really, has a bit of problem with oil not being able to get
Check the
out of the
ES.
Persian Gulf because it consumes a huge amount from there. But it also consumes a large amount of Russian oil, and it can get that oil without having to go through the Persian Gulf. So I would not be surprised if this continues to see China increasing its imports from Russia even more. And as oil prices go up, Putin can also charge more for his oil. So he is definitely looking at this as, there's more money in his pocketbook now, and he's potentially got another more space to sell his oil to the customers that will buy it. Another question is, will India, which recently committed to stop buying Russian oil, feel that it needs to go back to purchasing Russian oil to offset the losses that it's suffering because it can't get oil from the Persian Gulf?
What are some key potential red flags that you'd be watching in the coming weeks in terms of oil markets?
Yeah, I think the biggest issue I think we're looking for right now, I think spikes in natural gas prices in Europe and also in Japan and in other Asian countries. Qatar has shut down its LNG plants, and they're a major supplier to Asia. And so, we're going to be looking for big spikes there. And then as well, we're talking not just crude oil, but also products are major things that are going through the Strait of Hormuz. And so it will be very important to keep an eye on that, particularly Asia, China, Japan, South Korea. These are all countries that get huge amounts of these vital products from the Middle East. And so I be keeping a very close eye on what China is doing. I know that they recently started talking to the Iranians. It will be interesting to see if they try to bring their economic leverage to push the Iranians to kind of bring this to a swifter resolution.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there. Ellen Wald, thanks so much for being with us today. We appreciate your time. President of Transversal Consulting and Senior Fellow at Atlantic Council. Want to go down south now to Miami Beach, because that's where we find Lisa Abramowitz, co-host of Bloomberg Surveillance Television. She is down there for the JP Morgan Global Leveraged Finance Conference. Oh, and by the way, she has an interview coming up with CEO Jamie Dimon. By the way, it's 75 degrees in Miami Beach, so hope you get to go out in the sunshine, Lisa. Give us a little preview. What do you hope to speak with Mr. Dimon about shortly?
So once it filled this gap, its market is back to efficiency here, and this is more of a standard deviation level also. So you're looking at gap and a standard deviation. So that's probably why it pushed back down. Likes to rotate.
How are we going to get deals over the finish line? Does this represent some cracks? It is literally the opposite. The ISM manufacturing numbers that came out just minutes back at 10 a.m. Eastern time.
See how we reacted to value levels.
That you're seeing here, which is really fierce demand, a lot of optimism, and plans to build significantly. With Jamie Dimon, I'm so excited to speak with him. He has been warning about geopolitics for a long time. He has been saying that investors are overlooking the potential consequences of that. Is he surprised that yet again we are seeing...
If the bulls can hold this value level here, we can go and continue up. Push up, swing back, push up. If this level here is protected by the sellers, you can easily rotate back down into all this liquidity down here.
Was an increase in prices. How much does he see that as something that people are overlooking as well? At the same time, he has talked a lot about private credit and potential potholes there. So we'd love to get his thoughts more about how systemic that is, how much people are able to overlook it, and what AI disruption really looks like, not only in credit markets, but also for business.
So you spoke a bit earlier about the idea of AI disruption and to what extent people at the Global Leverage Finance Conference in Miami think it will actually affect broader sectors. How do you expect your conversation with Jamie to perhaps touch on that, or what are you hearing broadly at the conference regarding this?
Well, I think that it is going to disrupt every sector, and that's what I'm hearing. But when it comes to financials, I'm very curious from Jamie Dimon how it's going to affect the banking sector, how JP Morgan has made a huge investment so far in the AI space, in the technology space, to the point where some investors have actually pushed back and said, are you spending too much? How are you getting the bang for your buck? That's what I'm going to ask him. How are you getting the bang for your buck? How do you have the confidence that investors don't seem to have right now that you're going to do just fine and that you actually will come out on top? What will distinguish the winners and the losers in the banking sphere? We caught up earlier with the global head of credit trading for JP Morgan, Sanjay Jamna, and he said that AI will fundamentally alter and change the way that credit trading operates. He was talking about how it's going to level the playing field. There will be big winners, big losers, but at a time of disruption, and this to me is the fundamental question here at the Leverage Finance Conference, at a time of disruption, is there enough economic momentum to keep everything tugging along without some sort of systemic credit event? And right now, people don't have the answer, but it seems like there's more optimism than anything else here.
Yeah, Lisa, we've got falling income, slashing dividends, loan markdowns. We got results from some of the most transparent private credit funds this week, and they really, or last week I should say, they did little to really soothe investors' concerns about cockroaches in the market, which I know Jamie Dimon used that word, cockroaches. Sorry if you're eating your breakfast, but are you, there's so much to talk about. Of course, you don't have an hour with Mr. Dimon, but are you going to bring this up with him?
Absolutely. I mean, there's a question of whether they're cockroaches or people doing dumb things, exactly how far that goes, whether you're seeing the shakeout, where we are in that shakeout process. Are we at the beginning, middle, end? How much feedback he's gotten? I'm sure that he will bristle at the idea of people pushing back and saying, stop causing this to be a major concern. So there's a lot to talk about around that. Going forward, how do you continue to invest? I know that JP Morgan is a big investor, as well as a banker, as well as a risk manager. How do you keep investing in this space, given the concerns of some of these fundamental pitfalls that are happening, right? I mean, how difficult is it? Are you being more conservative with respect to your deployment of cash? These are all things I hope we can spend some time on.
Are you hearing anxieties at the conference at all about refinancing walls, or does it feel like
bullish
markets
buyers
are
trying to come back
open
in.
enough for issuers?
Get in there for long. Here, below. You can target value.
There are others that are taking this opportunity to go out and to refinance. The anxiety.
Buyers coming back in.
What don't we know, right? We have a lot of illiquid and non-transparent assets out there. There are a lot of unknowns when it comes to geopolitics. There are a lot of unknowns when it comes to politics. So with all of those issues, that's more of the anxiety.
We guarantee ourselves here at break even again, but I think we can get back to value here. See this level. I saw some aggressive buyers come in, and the bulls were protecting this level. It's like there's just a swing point off of standard deviation there.
You can catch her conversation with JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon at 2 p.m. Eastern time today.
All right, we're still waiting for President Trump to enter the East Room. Guests have seemed to have filed in now, and he is going
I think we can get back up to value here.
Remarks about the war with Iran. He's really having this medal honor ceremony going on in the East Room, but we're going to take that
another break even
when it happens and bring his remarks to you. And of course, one of the big questions now is what happens next in the war with Iran and with regime change there. And Senator Mark Warner, who's a member of the Gang of Eight, spoke with Bloomberg this weekend on Sunday, and he said there are still questions about what comes next for Iran.
Is the goal Iran's nuclear capability? Is it the ballistic missiles, regime change? And let me acknowledge the fact that the Iranian leadership, the supreme leader's taken out.
Almost there. We're so close.
This regime is awful. But I can tell you from the intelligence standpoint,
so close.
We don't have great visibility about.
It looks like we hit it.
What comes next?
We hit our target.
Question now to our next guest, Edward Price, non-resident senior fellow at NYU on Iran, joining us here in the studio. And I mean, I guess that really is the question, right? What comes next? Because what comes next?
Yeah,
could
that's it.
write the script.
Buyers protected this level, went back up to value. I mean,
And in plan A, we're going
I saw aggressive buyers coming in here. Aggressive buyers coming in here.
But there is no plan B. And so this is maybe a reaction long term to the war on terror and 20 years of picking around in the Middle East for
figured we could get another break-even position.
We as American citizens should think very carefully about because we're not spreading democracy as much as we are making the world safer for democracy.
Well, do you want to touch on this
That's good for today.
Terminal, the UAE
Broke even at our first position. Try to
with Ed Price here. I wanted to talk about whether or not do you think that diplomacy
and then another break even on our second. So our first position was we were here trying to get the rotation after the gap fill. Once price filled this gap, I figured there was going to be some take profits at this high. Tried to swing back, but price was pushing another manipulative move here to trap buyers here. Trapped the buyers here before coming down, but we took break even there. Entered here in the wrong direction, thinking we could go back up more. But another break even here, and then here at this level, aggressive buyers coming in here, protecting this value level area. And we could have held, but it's okay. We get out that. Got something. That's it. Okay, we'll see you in the next stream. Let's see. Check out what was the news this morning. There's PMI.
You say that there's a flip race between using our hard power
about the same, a little bit lower than previous. Next news event will be Wednesday. Another price manufacturing index.
I just suggested that if international law is not working,
okay, happy Monday, and see you on the next stream. Peace.
What I mean about the dollar is that we live off of our soft power. People lend us a lot of money that is used to buy very nice kit that we saw in the last few days.